Hello, this caricature is of Philip Seymour Hoffman. He just passed away, and he's going to be the next subject on the traditional page on Facebook. So there I am, starting with my first sketch, and I'm basically using these small scraps of paper, just scratch paper, and I'm trying to keep these sketches as small as possible. I started off with a profile caricature. I do a few front views, and I end up drawing, I guess, like a profile caricature of the guy with a few of the features being like a quarter view. What you didn't see in this video is I looked through Nate Cap's Beasted book, the small one, the mini. So I went through it just to kind of warm up a little bit, and then I watched a few of the YouTube videos of this guy. I usually watch videos first before I do any of the like image searching. Just kind of get a feel of his face and looking at the overall features, the overall shape of his head, and his mood, and things like that. And then that'll help me judge on which photos I want to kind of gather. So what I do is I follow the basic principles that are found in Tom Richmond's book, The Mad Art of Caricature. I kind of stick with those, and then I add my little twist to it, my own style, and I exaggerate a little bit more. I kind of go wild, I guess, with these caricatures, you could say. So that's what I do. I stick to the principles, just kind of looking at the overall shape, looking at features, and trying to find the unique features that this guy has or the person has, and I try to exaggerate those to create a likeness through the exaggeration. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of testing these features out. His Philtrum area was very unique to me. Apart from him being a large guy from the very beginning, when you look at him or see him on videos and stuff, you notice that he's a large guy. He's got a lot of mass in his neck, a lot of mass in his chin, and then he's got some mass on his forehead. But apart from those major shapes, the larger ones, I noticed something very unique about him, which was his Philtrum, the area between his top lip and his nose. When he smiled, that shape or that area got shrunk. It kind of got small. But when he... You okay? You okay? Mommy? Wait 1 second. I'm back again. That was my daughter. She was wanting just to play for a little bit. So when he smiled, that area kind of shrunk in my eyes, in my view. So that's what. And then when he was talking, when he was speaking, especially when I saw like a small a small video of him like acting, especially when he didn't have his mustache, I noticed that area got large. Not necessarily that space right directly underneath the nose, but towards the end of his mustache area, that area in the Philtrum, that area was pretty large. Like, it got bigger. I saw like a quarter view of him. He was cleanly shaven, and that area really stood out as he was talking. So anyways, that was probably the main feature. That's, if you go back, if you saw in the video, I was starting off with that area first because that was stood out, and then I kind of drew the other features around it. So I started with the hardest part, you could say, the most important part in my eye, which was that area, that Philtrum area. And then I moved my way around to the other features that surrounded that area. So I started with that, and I moved outwardly. And as you can tell, I ran out of paper because the area was so small. I wasn't really thinking. I was just kind of sketching and started with that. And then I brought other sheets of paper. I basically have like 4 cutout sheets of paper. And then I started drawing the forehead, the body, the chin, and I just kept on exaggerating with the same level of exaggeration. Now, one thing that I try not to do is, if I'm going to exaggerate, let's say at a level 7, let's say there's a level 1 through 10, right? 1 meaning like it's very mild, very little exaggeration, and then like 10 being like really extreme where a lot of the features go offside the page, and it's just really large and just really extreme. But let's say I'm exaggerating at a 10. I try to keep every feature exaggerated. I try to keep every feature exaggerated to that same degree, at that same level. So everything doesn't necessarily have to be large, but like if I'm going to make that chin really large at a level 7, for example, I'm going to make sure to shrink that nose down to a level 7 also. If he has a small nose, I'm going to bring it down to a level 7. What doesn't really make sense if I did it the other way, it wouldn't make sense if I made like the nose a level 10, let's say, and then I made the forehead, the ear, and the chin like a level 0 or a 1. There was very little exaggeration. It wouldn't let's see, it wouldn't look right. The feel of it, the overall feel of it wouldn't look right. It wouldn't look as good. I mean, it would look more solid. It would look better. It would look like the same artist drew everything. It would look like the same style. I see a lot of caricatures on Facebook. Everything's kind of mild, and then you have this huge nose coming out of nowhere that's like level 10 or level 8, and something about it doesn't look right. It just doesn't feel right. So, and that's just my opinion. But if I'm going to exaggerate at a level 4, I try to make sure everything else is exaggerated to that degree. And again, that doesn't mean everything has to be large. I do shrink with that same level of degree. So anyways, at this point, I'm changing up the eyebrows. As you can see, I did the glasses, a few different shapes. He doesn't really wear rounded glasses. That could have been my mistake. I did see him wearing like these oval ones, and then he wore like these rectangular ones and square ones, but there's not one picture of him with like perfect round circular glasses. I just thought I would do that instead because he's a round guy, and normally when you like are when you're picking glasses for someone, if they have a square face, it would probably fit best for them if they wore square glasses. And if they have like a round face, those square glasses don't really fit well with that face. I've never heard someone at the eye doctor or someone that's giving out glasses, I've never heard them say that, but just from an artistic point of view, it just fits that face better. So I just went ahead and gave him rounded, perfect round circles, and I did angle them a little bit towards the middle, and hope that would bring his eyes together, even though it's still a profile and you only see one of the eyes. I kind of angled him a little bit inwardly, so that way it could give a feel like his eyes are real close together. Let me see here. That lip that comes around, that looks like a quarter view angle of it. That was almost like an afterthought. I was trying to do something else. I forgot what I was trying to do, but I was trying to change something, and that lip just kind of looked better coming around that. So I really wasn't working on that lip. I think I was working on the Philtrum or something like that in that area. And then I don't know, maybe a line came out of nowhere and just thought that looked cool. But sometimes that happens. I'm not trying to work on something, and I'm working on something else, and I accidentally make a stroke and it looks okay. Just kind of like that shoulder right there in his body, that shoulder, which is his left arm, his left arm and shoulder. Earlier you saw me try to erase it, and I tried to do something else, and I went back and just drew in the first line that I drew in the very beginning. And that first line in the very beginning was just something real quick. It was just spontaneous. So it kind of shows that he has a shoulder, and it kind of goes out a little bit. What you saw me there is I was cutting up the sheets because I was going to trace it, and since there was 4 sheets of paper, the light wasn't going to go through it. So I went ahead and just cut out the sheets and then pasted them all together. That way I just have one sheet of paper to trace through, so the light's only going through 2 sheets of paper. So this is now the watercolor stage, and as you can tell, I've already started because the battery went dead. I only have a few, and usually at this point, 90% of the time, my batteries go dead, and you don't get to see the first stages of the watercoloring. But it was basically starting off real light, and I wish I would have had a scratch sheet of paper to just kind of test the watercolors, because this was so new to me. Excuse me. And the reason I say it was new to me because I was using a new paper called Yupo. It's spelled Y-U-P-O. Blick.com sells it, is where I got it from. It's fairly expensive. It's maybe, I think it was like 22 bucks for like 10 sheets of it. So I guess it's a little over $2 a page. They're 11 by 14 sheets. It's like 75 pounds, so it's not that thick. But the good thing is, it stays completely flat throughout the whole thing. Even like when I was doing the background painting, all the watercoloring, there was so much water on there, and it stayed flat on that glass table that I had. It stayed completely flat. And usually traditional watercolor paper, it starts to bend and bow, and sometimes I have to kind of wet the back of the sheets to kind of bend it back the other way. But with this, it was completely flat the whole time. And what happens is this paper is so glossy, it's so smooth, is that the water stays on top of the surface of this paper. It doesn't penetrate and go within the paper. It doesn't absorb into the paper like the other watercolor papers do. It stays on the surface, so it's almost like you're drawing or painting on glass. That's the feel that I had. The only thing, it does take a long time to dry. It takes like let's say you're doing a layer on the anywhere, the forehead or somewhere. It's going to be another 5 minutes before that completely dries, and you can't even use a hair dryer, because if you start using a hair dryer, well, then you're going to start moving the pigments and the colors around in areas that you don't really want for them to go to. So you have to kind of be patient and wait. Make sure that paper is flat and it dries with just normal air. And the reason I'm using this new paper is I met an artist named Marvin Lawrence at the last convention, and he uses a paper, I forgot what it was called, but I took a picture of it, and it's glossy and it's just like this, and I thought it was wonderful. I just wanted to try it out, and I started to research it, and it only sells out of the country, and I can't get it here in the States. So I started Googling and searching and reading and looking at blog posts and just different things, and I finally found this paper. I found the name, so I went ahead and Googled it. I got it from Blick, and I think Jerry's Artorama sells it. So if you just Google it, you'll find it. So there's a lot of benefits and there's a lot of drawbacks to it. One of the main things is if you're not used to it, you'll find a lot of things, and it's not necessarily drawbacks. It's just something that it takes some time to get used to. Like, for example, you almost have to wear like gloves when you're like sketching on this paper, and you can't sketch too much because you can't erase any of the pencil afterwards, especially when you're watercoloring. Even with one layer on it, as light as it may be, you can't erase any of the pencil. That's what I found out. But you almost have to wear gloves, because when you put any type of oil, especially from your hand on that paper, as you know, water doesn't do well with grease or oil. So when you go to color it, it's just not gonna be solid. It's gonna look broken up. And I had about 3 thumbprints on his mustache that gave me problems after problem. And if you see the background, you see those white spots in that brown area and the green area on both sides, on the right and the top left. Those white areas, those are from my palms. That's grease from my palms. And I didn't notice until the very end. So I didn't mean to do those white areas. That's just, I naturally just started painting over it, and it naturally just started separating in those areas because of the grease. So I don't know how to take it off. But anyways, I hope this has helped you, and I'm going to try to record next week, and I'll try to use the same paper and do some more watercoloring.